Well, we're here with the Enterprise Marketer Podcast, and I'm excited because I'm here, and we're going to go raw, and we're going to go no pre-questions with Pam Didner. So how are you doing?
I am doing very well. It's great to be here.
Awesome. So what was your session on here at Intelligent Content Conference?
I just did a workshop, and it's interesting. It's a 4-hour-long workshop, and the title is Setting Up and Managing the Content First Global Team. How to do that.
Wow. And I like that idea of content first, and then focusing on the value and then distributing it to the global perspective. And so I really want to get into some of the global content marketing aspects of the things you've done, but then also the places you've been and the people you've taught and what you've seen marketers doing. But I really want to learn a little bit about your background. So how did you get started in marketing?
That's actually an interesting question. From my perspective, it's really kind of like a twisted path, if you will. I was a CPA actually, 20-some years ago.
Can you still do my taxes?
Unfortunately not.
Oh, okay.
Not kept up with all the tax regulation and the reforms. And in fact, I actually have someone else doing my taxes. I was like, get it done for me, please. Yeah, I started as a CPA, and then I work at a company called Intel. Kind of like a small company.
That was my first job.
Big. Really?
Yeah, I was an Intel sales rep at the age of 17 when the Pentium 2 processor was around and AMD K62 was out. My job was to go around and teach Best Buys and CompUSAs and other computer stores about the Pentium chip and help sell product.
All right, so we are Intel alum.
Yeah.
Way to go.
Exactly.
Way to go. I joined Intel when the company, well, now it's still a good company, but way back then, they actually encouraged people move around. Mm-hmm. So I was in finance and accounting, moved to manufacturing floor, really.
Yeah.
And supply chain management. From there, I did operations and then twist of fate, if you will. And I started doing marketing operation support. So I kind of support a marketing team, but really the back end of it. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't on the front. From there, I got a chance to actually support people doing event marketing. And then, of course, opportunity came up. The event manager asked me if I'm interested actually to events. Mm-hmm. So I stepped into like the dark side, which is the marketing.
Yeah.
And I was doing event for about 4 years. From there, I moved into what they call a marketing strategy. I did go-to-market plan for Intel's B2B products, which is enterprise products.
Yeah.
And I worked very closely with the product team to define the messaging framework for the product we are going to sell, also understand what their product launch timelines are. Mm-hmm. And then I work with all the marketing peers and all the region and country manager, understand what their needs are. And I was the one actually responsible to put the global go-to-market plan together.
Oh, wow.
So once I got that done, then the region and the country marketing team will use that as a guidance or the Bible, whatever you want to call it, so they can plan, implement, and execute their campaigns.
Awesome. And so it's not just changing the language and rolling with the same content, right? Global content marketing or global marketing in general takes a lot more due diligence. Each team has to do a lot of content production to make it roll out.
Yes. So what you touch on is kind of a balance of a centralization versus decentralization. Mm-hmm. They are, and in a way, if you think about it, is what is the collaborations between the headquarters and also the local team. Mm-hmm. And I see the headquarter actually set up kind of like a guidance or the guide rail, I call it guide rail, or a sandbox, right? Identify what is the overall guidance, and then also determine what the headquarters can do, what kind of content they should create, which is, I call it global content, is something that is more standardized type of content, if you will, that require less localization and less translation that local team can use. But at the same time, you should also give the local team autonomous that they can actually create content or localized content, localized original content, if you will, that they think is relevant for their countries or regions to do their marketing execution. So it's a balance of the decentralization versus centralization, and also the balance of the standardized type of content, also localized content, and what is the right things to do. There's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
It really depends on the company culture, how the budget is allocated, the organizational structure, the maturity of the team, etc.
Do you find teams that are not based in the U.S. kind of get this a little bit more than teams that are like they're headquartered here in the U.S. and they're branching out into other countries?
Well, I think it's kind of like a learning curve. It's not necessary that the local team is getting it more than the U.S. team, or the local team is getting it more than the headquarter team. It's a matter of, I would say, understanding each other.
Yeah.
It's be able to put yourself into other people's shoes and try to understand their perspective and see if, even if you have a strong stand, but it's important to understand where that person comes from, and then find the amicable solution or a compromise that makes sense. So it's actually hard.
Yeah, I bet.
There's always, I wouldn't say a conflict of interest, but it's just a matter of the objective are not 100% aligned.
Yeah, exactly. Because most times, if it is a small regional office, it's going to be very focused on a few customers and sales and run like a smaller business would, especially if they're a field oriented, you know, kind of branch.
I understand, totally get it.
And you even get it like with large companies that are structured in the US, that even though it's not global, it is, how do you do marketing when you have a field office in Minneapolis that is focused on creating content from Minneapolis?
I 100% agree. Yeah.
And you have to do it very similar. You have to talk to headquarters, and you have to bring things down, and you have to contextualize it for the environment, because you can't run a Boston Red Sox, you know, image in the background in Kansas City. It's just not going to flow right.
Right. No, I 100% agree with you. You brought up another good point. I mean, if you think about it, the global sense or the localization sense of it, even within the same country, right? A different region, the North versus South, for example, in the US, and even the Midwest versus two coasts. Yeah. And in Switzerland, a country literally this big, okay, probably not a great way of saying it. I apologize for whoever is listening is actually from Switzerland.
They're a lot older than us, though, so they've got the wisdom, right? Okay. You can always compliment them on the ability to last longer than we have so far.
True. But a country size, which is substantially smaller than US, that country has 4 official languages.
Yeah.
So you somehow just have to deal with that and understand. And the German side and also the French side, even though it's within the same country, they are very, very different.
Did you know 70% of Twitter users watch videos found in their newsfeed? Here's a tip. Use visuals in your tweets. People are 3 times more likely to engage with a tweet that includes a video. Create short, visually entertaining videos to grab your followers' attention in their timelines. Quickly and easily publish videos to YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at once with Brightcove Social. Learn more at brightcove.com.
And then you got Canada. You know, there's a lot of French Canadians and just
Quebec,
Canadians. And so they have poutine together, but then they also don't have, you know, it's definitely uncommon interest. And then you see the same in how they approach large companies, medium-sized companies, and small companies, that the content needs to be contextualized for, you know, the SMBs versus the enterprise versus the Fortune 500.
Yep. That's really much based on, it can be segment driven, or target audience driven, right? And also possibly by verticals as well. So the content, obviously, depending on who your sales target audiences are, then you probably have to customize it. Even the same topics, And because the way that you communicate or talking to the SMB will be somehow very different than the way that you talk to enterprise accounts.
Exactly, because a lot of times it's like the size of the team. Even it's like there's one marketer, and in your video training, you might be talking about the marketing team, and you might be talking about these different functions, and the guy's like, I do it all, so let's go ahead and talk directly to me. And you need that empathy, that ability to understand the person as well as you can, to truly be in their shoes and not just pretend like you know what they're going through.
True. Jeff, I think you can be a global content marketer. You can start teaching the class.
Great. Yeah. Well, I mean, we love traveling. But the problem is the RV is on wheels, and it's hard to get those wheels across the water. So maybe just the North and South America.
Yeah, I think you can do that.
Yeah.
When you pass Mexico, you can go pretty far.
Yeah, you can go pretty far down, and there's always bridges. And then we can ferry it across. Yeah, we do a lot of travel, and so when we go to Europe, it's always amazing to sit down and watch the way people use marketing. You see a lot of print, you see a lot of images and people, and it's very much get in your face style marketing, like it was in America maybe 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But because of the advancements, or because of not necessarily the advancements, but the consumption rates of television and devices and internet compared to other countries, because the internet hasn't necessarily scaled the same way it has here.
Right.
They still rely on older tactics. And so when you're looking to push like a video content marketing series out to, where we travel a lot is Poland, well, you might hit Warsaw and Krakow very well, but you get out into some of the rural areas.
Print.
You got to go print. You got to look at different, because the internet is so much slower.
I totally agree.
That you can't stream video. You can't do all these things in the rural areas.
So again, I think you hit the core in terms of content needs to be contextualized, and in terms of the marketing channels.
And so how much, like if you're a team, and let's say you're just a single team in a headquarters, but you've got branch offices that don't necessarily have marketing operations there. They just have sales or whatever it is. How do you get started thinking about a global plan that goes beyond just your one English piece of content?
So I can talk about different stages, right?
Yeah, exactly.
For example, initially, if you are just one person team, or you have a very small team, but you are really looking to expand to different countries, obviously your sales team has a fairly decent idea in terms of what the countries they want to go to. So they prioritize and they say, we're going to tackle, say, UK, Canada, or Australia first, whatnot. I'm just using that as an example.
Well, it's English speaking, and so
so that's actually easy. Or you can basically say, I want to tackle Germany first. That's actually good too. And the way to start initially in terms of a globalize it, I always said the initial stage is follow the sales, right? So that started with a sales team. Do we actually have a salesperson on the ground? If we don't, do we have a sales rep? Work directly with a sales rep, work with directly the local sales guy to start with. Not necessarily, you don't have a marketing person.
Yeah.
So that just work with a salesperson first. And at that point, it's not necessarily about doing marketing. It's really about sales enablement. Support the sales with collateral, support the sales so they can reach the targeted account. Do that first, right? Get that started. Once you have a couple of the accounts under your belt and you start seeing some revenue, then you do marketing. I always tell people, don't do marketing yet. Get a couple of the sales deals first. Once you have the money, then you do marketing.
Yeah.
So that's how I would suggest people do it. And then, of course, if you grow slowly, right, the sales reps becomes a full-time sales account managers, and now you possibly grow a whole lot more, then you possibly can hire a part-time marketing manager.
Oh, yeah.
Or any agency for that matter, right? And then you have the ability to work with the agency. Now you start doing the marketing part of it. Even with that, it's not necessarily awareness driven unless you have a huge amount of budget. Again, it's tied with the sales. Where does the sales go? To make sure that you have proper marketing support to make that happen. So get that going first, get the money into your pocket.
Yeah, I love that.
Then let's grow accordingly. Usually what I see, and I work with a bunch of entrepreneurs or even the startups, they always come to me and say, hey, we need to do marketing. My take on this is, no, you don't need to, not yet. Let's get a couple wins first. And get the, once you have some wins, then you can start using that as the way to market yourself.
Yeah.
But still, that's grow slowly. Unless you are building a community, you want to actually have a big amount, big participation, then you probably should do the pay effort and then drive the traffic using a pay effort and get the people to come to your community. But initially, it should be grassroots.
Yeah. And I like that. It's a very agile approach. It's small incremental changes.
Yeah.
That then you can actually always prove value back to the organization. You're not just saying, "Hey, I'm going to try something."
I'm going to try. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I turned down a lot of businesses. They say, we need to do marketing. No, you don't.
Yeah.
Why don't we help our sales team first? Let's get that down.
Yeah.
Get that down.
It's weird because we still, even though we're more collaborative with sales now, and we're working, maybe we both understand the customers a little better because of some of the collaboration that we're doing. We're still divided, and it doesn't always come to marketing's attention that the sales guy is usually the one that closed the deal.
Yeah.
And once they close the deal, you can show return on investment. Yep. So ensure that line, that connection is secure. So that way they're putting the data in the CRM. Everyone's getting happy. We have full trail.
Yep.
And then we can start to show that we're winning and get that seat at the
100%
table.
100% agree.
Awesome.
We're on the same page. Yes.
We're global content marketers. And so as we kind of wrap this up, what are you looking forward to in 2017-18 time period as far as content marketing goes?
I'm probably one of the few people to say it's going to be status quo for the time being. And but there's a lot of technologies coming down that's actually triggering or is getting populated. Augmented reality and virtual reality, and also a lot of devices now they are machine learning, right? The Amazon device, Alexa, and the Google's Home device.
Yep.
And those are actually, there is a complicated, as you know, Jeff, algorithm that built behind it to actually train the machine to understand what we are saying in a very contextual way and give us an answer. I think moving forward, artificial intelligence and also virtual reality will have a huge impact for content marketing in terms of how we can share and present the content in a very different way. Essentially, it can be a different channel per se, but the way we think about in terms of the format of the content, the delivery of content will be substantially different.
Yeah.
However, I'm not saying that is going to be a tsunami will hit us in 2017 and 2018, but it's definitely coming.
Yeah, and I'm excited too about AR, VR. One, I think from the holographic perspective, being able to be places or put places in your place is, from a marketing perspective, is huge.
Huge.
Because these are usually earlier in the sales process where maybe a salesperson isn't qualifying this person yet, but you can actually engage with them and have them experience the product.
Yeah.
And then also from the customer support perspective,
totally
where
agree.
they aren't necessarily getting excited about this, we can actually engage customers into the product.
It might also change search.
Yeah.
Right now, search is very like it's just touch screen or you enter something. Imagine in the future, the search is voice recognition. The search maybe in the virtual reality realm that you code something and something will come out and literally just give you a demo.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Me and my wife we're such geeks. We both have CIS degrees.
No, I cannot tell. I absolutely cannot tell, Jeff.
So I'm like handwriting, like when we're teaching our kids and stuff like that. I'm like, let's not focus so much on handwriting. Let's focus more on typing. But then we watch the way they search.
Yeah.
And they spell words. They hit the microphone button. They say the word in there.
Yeah.
It types it. They recognize it. And then they say go. And it's like, okay, if this is their paradigm
future,
and this is where they're going, let's teach them that as well as we can and teach them about how that works so that they can be better prepared. And rather than say, no, type it out or write it out or focusing on the old school ways, because I think it is going so rapidly. I mean, we have a HoloLens. We've had it for about a year, and that's Microsoft's augmented reality.
Yeah. How do you like it?
It's early.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you can
you're an
feel,
early
right?
adapter, yeah.
It feels like if you wear glasses, it feels like you put your glasses too far down your nose and you could see around the edges.
Yeah.
So it's not fully immersive augmented yet.
But it's coming.
It's coming.
Yeah.
It's exciting. You see it working, that they're getting this stuff. And as a technologist, I see that they're getting the stuff prepared. They're figuring out the rooms. They're getting the shapes correctly. They're understanding that this is a vector-based approach. And so our holograms need to now start to come into a vector-based approach, which is where they've evolved over the past 10 years with all their development. And so it's cool to see it, because I've been a part of it for so long at a deep level, to see it progress.
Yeah, the evolution of it.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be in 2018. I bet 2020 it'll be a bigger deal.
Yeah, I think so too.
But those people who can get it now are going to amaze people because they haven't had that experience yet. And so if you've got, a lot of our construction clients and stuff like that, it's like if we can take the HoloLens out and put the building on the site when it's still dirt.
And the people can actually show and that people visualize it.
Yeah, let them put it on and see it and walk around the block and see what it's going to look like from behind the building where the sketch never showed, right? Or go next door and see what buildings are blocking us. So if we're deciding that, let's put a big old, let's put a lot of money in the outside facade, but then they've got another building that's going to be put here. Let's put that building there and see what is it worth, the money, or should we do something else? There's so much we can do from a marketing perspective that will drive people into excitement, and we can see their experience so we can truly understand what they're going through by getting that feedback from them, and they're going to be willing to give it because we're the ones that drive that experience first.
Opportunities.
And so I think that the intelligent marketer is saying, how can I make AR and VR a thing in 2018?
Yes.
Rather than waiting for everyone else to do it. And if you're still excited about your blog and considering getting a podcast, these are decade-old technologies that have already been done, and I think you should be a part of it, but think about how it's changing and what yours is going to look like. So if you get into podcasting, how can you get your podcast into Alexa? What kind of questions would you ask Alexa? What kind of responses would you want back from a person who's recorded a bunch of content?
Yeah.
And it's answers to individual questions. It's snippets that can be released as podcasts, but can also be reimagined into this, bot format. Yeah. and responded. And then videos the same way. How can we incorporate video into places where people will be pulling their devices out and asking specific questions? So that way, when we are in the virtual reality and I'm sitting here tinkering with something, I can have your video show up as the response when I ask Cortana or I ask Siri or I ask whoever the question. And so that's what I'm excited about. But the one thing that doesn't work well is the big old text block that you wrote as an article showing up on your goggles, because it's very hard to read. Yeah. And you're like, the whole reason we don't like to read ebooks, right? It's going to be hard to read. It's hard to see. And so you're going to want to hear it or see it. Yeah. So that's what I think for marketers is like, you got to get into rich media production for your content.
Way to go, Jeff. You end the podcast, or this is a podcast?
Yeah.
No.
It's a something. Yeah, it's a something.
Well, it's good. That was actually a nice way to end it and to share with everyone.
Well, thank you for your time, and we can't wait to interact again and then maybe talk about what it looks like from a global perspective to do rich media type of content.
Oh my God, that's another layer of a complexity. I don't even have answer for it just yet.
Did you know Facebook video posts have 135% greater reach than image posts? Here's a tip: know your audience. Upload video content that speaks to your most committed fan base who already know and like you. Their comments, likes, and shares will help spread your message and bring awareness to your brand. Quickly and easily publish videos to YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at once with Brightcove Social. Learn more at brightcove.com.